Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about what does it actually take to get better at drawing and painting. I've been teaching every week new students over the last several years, and I've been teaching like several hundred students of all ages these principles, like how do you actually get better at drawing and painting. And so I want to give you kind of 8 of my tips today on how to improve the quality of your drawings. I think the first one that we run into is having the proper expectations. And so I've had people come into the class and kind of get mad at themselves or frustrated with themselves because it's their first week, maybe their first day, and it feels hard. It feels like I'm never going to get this. I expected this to be easy and it doesn't feel easy. And they get mad at themselves, a few to the point where they've actually quit. And to me, that's been kind of sad. And so I've been in my in-person classes, as well as on here today, just trying to encourage people by setting the right expectations. In the mall that I'm in, where my studio is, downstairs we have a Taekwondo studio. And I can't imagine me going in there for the first time, having never taken Taekwondo, and getting mad at myself that I wasn't good enough to fight someone like Bruce Lee or McGregor, right? In my first week. Like, you could fight them, you're probably not gonna win, right? And so having the proper expectations, I think, is really important, that even though they're just pictures, it does take some time. And there's plenty of work that we're not gonna be excited about or proud of yet, right? It takes a little bit of time. So you have to give yourself enough time to get into it. But I believe that it's more a function of that, of giving it enough time and practice, than it is talent. I think the talent I'll talk about a little bit later. But I'd say the first expectation is giving yourself enough time. The second part I wanted to talk about is learning to draw. People that take these classes are really eager to learn how to paint because they see the final output. They'd see someone's work somewhere online, maybe in person at a show, and they're thinking, I really want to learn how to paint. But most paintings are underpinned by good drawing fundamentals. Now, that's not 100% true. There's plenty of examples where they're just not like that. But in the course of history, art history especially, drawing is a function of painting. And the better you get at drawing, the more options I'd say you have with painting. I'll give you an example. So we all know abstract expressionism or Jackson Pollock style paintings. You don't obviously need a ton of drawing fundamentals for something like that. But the problem is, I don't know, and this is an art history question, but I don't really know how much fundamental skill Pollock had. He might have had a tremendous amount or very little. But the point is, you don't necessarily have to have a ton of fundamental experience to do what he's doing or did. I'd say there is technique involved in that, so I don't want to downplay that part of it, but you're not necessarily learning about perspective or many other things in order to put something like that together. And so if you think you don't need any drawing, what you end up doing is limiting the types of work that you're capable of creating. And so the other part of that, though, is during the painting process, you are sort of drawing with paint. And so it's not sort of either or. There's perspective and values and composition and proportion, line. There's all these things that come into play regardless of what the medium is. It could be a graphite pencil, charcoal pencil, it could be pastels, anything, like any dry medium you could think of, I'd say colored pencils, markers, all of that. It could be the exact same principles that you're using, you're just using paint, right? So they kind of are side by side, which is why I teach them together. The third part of it is learning to draw what you see. Now, this is tricky. Our brains play tricks on us. In our heads, we know that grass is green and skies are blue, and that kind of gets in the way sometimes when we're looking at what's actually in front of us. Is the sky blue today? Or are pieces of it blue and other pieces of it not blue? Is the grass truly green, or are there, some dead spots or shadows or things on the grass? And then the same thing happens with lines. Like, we know that some things in our heads are circular and some things are square, but in reality, the angle of certain things might be a little off. And so our brains kind of get in the way of learning to see, or actually they get in the way of what we actually see. And what we have to do is we have to learn to see like an artist. which means you start to learn how to break things down individually and truly draw what you actually see. Not what your brain thinks it sees, but what you are actually seeing. The next part is expecting tons of practice. So I'm a taller guy, I'm 6'4". I had the privilege of playing basketball in high school and a little bit of summer league in college. And then I continue to play to this day. I call it the geriatric league because I'm an older guy and I have gray hair now, and I'm definitely not dunking the basketball anymore, but it's still fun. I've coached regularly the last 12 years, all age groups, boys, girls. It's been a ton of fun. And just like basketball, all of these skills in art require lots of practice, lots of repetition. And imagine being, it's your first day, you have a basketball, and you're at the 3-point line, and you're expecting it to shoot it as consistently as Steph Curry. It's just not going to happen. And for some reason, people come into the art class and expect that they're going to be able to paint like a master in their first week or first month. And it just doesn't work that way. I'd say for every artist out there, we probably have thousands of drawings that were progressively good over time, but we all know where we started, and it wasn't here. We started in the very beginning, and they gradually learned and learned and learned. Now, some of these things can be learned and compressed in terms of time based on how much practice you have and the type of practice that you're doing. But the general principle here is, your first 1, 2, or 10, maybe even 100 paintings that you do, they might not be ready in terms of where you would like them to get to. And that's normal. So please understand, this is not magic. This isn't talent. This is typically just showing up and putting in what one of my fellow artists says, the brush miles. The next thing I'd like to talk about is I do emphasize starting with the fundamentals of drawing. They're not new principles. These have been around for hundreds of years. But each one of these things connects, and they all support each other. And when you strengthen one of them, the total work gets better. Now, in the beginning of an artist's career, I think it's the most important part is mastering all of these fundamentals. And then you can get to a point rather quickly, I'd say within a few years, where you can make a decision. Do you want to continue to go down the rabbit hole of realism? Or is there some other flavor out there that you really appreciate more? And if you do, you'll be glad that you had the fundamentals under your belts and that you understood them, and that you made a deliberate choice to break some of those rules and go in another direction. But I wouldn't say skip that. I would say start with the fundamentals. I would say for the next point I'd like to make is seek feedback of your work over likes. Now, we're all human. When I put a piece up on the internet, I want 1 million likes, right? I want people to be like, wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And it feels good. When you go to an art fair and you have hundreds of people walk by in a weekend and they affirm your skill, that feels good. And we all want to feel that. But the thing is, if you focus on that, it can mess with you. And it can, what if you don't get all of the likes that you're hoping for, right? So instead, what I would recommend is seek feedback. Don't seek the likes, seek the feedback. Talk to people that know you enough, or sometimes even strangers, to be honest, but you have to know this person is going to give you straight information, not sugarcoat it for you or be afraid to offend you, but actually just tell you what they think. Now the thing is, you don't have to take that one opinion as the only opinion, but the more you can get other people's perspectives on what they're seeing, you can actually decide which pieces of information you would like to take and apply to your work, and it will strengthen it. And so artists call this process critique. But even just general feedback, I think, can be helpful. Even people that have no artistic training, they can at least tell you how they feel about it. And then on the other side, if you network with artists in your community and just say, hey, would you take 30 seconds of your time and give me some honest feedback about this piece, things you like, things you don't like, things that you feel like are working, maybe not working. Here's what I was going for, and see if they'll do that for you. Now, people are busy. You might get rejected a few times before you actually get the answer that you want, but I think it's important and valuable to seek after that information. One thing I want to say is you're only competing against yourself. Now, that may seem crazy because we know that there's lots of artists in the world, that they're all over Instagram, and it feels as if we're in competition with each other. The reason I don't really feel like that is because when I've participated in these art fairs and shows, the thing that's beautiful to me about them is it's almost like an ice cream store. Everyone brings the flavor that they make to the fair. And it doesn't matter if I like it or not. It doesn't matter if it resonates with me or not. There's an audience for it somewhere, right? That's why I'm really not afraid of AI art, because like AI seems to want to do things efficiently, and it has a lot of great capabilities, but the thing that makes art is that humans are making it, and we have a unique perspective on the world. And so all of the things that we produce, the colors that we choose, the subjects that we choose, the stories that we tell, this unique combination creates infinite possibilities of flavors for the ice cream store. And so it doesn't actually matter what everyone else is doing in terms of comparison. I think you can learn from people, but I don't think we should feel like envious, if that makes sense. I think that even as you are right now, there's a place for you in the marketplace. I don't know how big your audience will be, but I do know that that flavor is needed. And what you should be doing instead is just comparing your work today against where you were yesterday, and then treat it like an individual race. And I think you'll get much better in the process. Last but not least, I'd say this is so important too. Selling your art is not required. I feel like one of the things that got in my way early on was this feeling of the world's telling us about all these starving artists, right? Like, don't do art, it's not a worthwhile pursuit. And they don't follow that advice in any other category. Like, you know how many right now pickleball players there are that are not getting paid? Tons of them. In fact, they're paying to play. I told you I'm a basketball player. I probably could charge for coaching at this point. I've never decided to monetize it, but I never got paid for playing. Like, I could probably set up camps or clinics or things like that, maybe individual training, and I could get paid to teach, but I was honestly never good enough when I needed to be to get paid for playing. I've played for, over 30 years now for $0, right? Why would you do that? Well, because you love playing. And so art, to me, I don't know why it should be different. If you love making art, you don't have to turn pro. So I would say don't compare it from that perspective. Make art because you love to make art. If you want to, that's a different conversation, probably for another video. But I hope these 8 tips have been helpful today for, like, what does it really take to get better at drawing and painting? To me, that's the answer. As an art teacher, I think there is value in online video content. I learn from that. I think you can learn from that. I also think there is great benefit to live in-person classes. And I think one of the things I can do as a teacher in person is I can give people very tailored, specific feedback for a very small part of something that they're working on, as an example. Or I can unpack something more. I can even take their brush or their pencil and I can show them. I can do a very tailored demonstration. Plus, there's the community. There's the community of students in here that you don't get exactly the same way online. So I see great value in that. I'd encourage you to do both. Learn online and learn in person. So in closing, I just want to say thanks for watching this. I hope it's helped you. My goal with this channel, this is going to be for my art students that take classes from me, but also just general good art advice from someone that is a professional artist that is, pushing his work out into the world more and more, and also a, art teacher, someone that desires to see other people find joy in the process of painting. I'm glad you took a look at this, and I hope to see stuff that you make someday. Maybe you can send it to me via email or post it on social or whatever and tag me, but I would love to see what you make. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.